before the year, I would have said it would have been one of my number one movies because I'm a huge MCU fan. But Guardians of the Galaxy
3, I get that. It's number 2 that I'm like, I'll wait to editorialize on.
Yeah. So number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is a movie that I was really looking forward to at the start of the year. This is a movie that I really wish would have come out 3 years ago, when I think everyone probably would have wanted to see it more 3 years ago. Anyway, all of the stuff that happened in real life, it probably will be a documentary at some point in and of itself that leads James Gunn being fired from Guardians 3 and somehow eventually taking over the DCEU, which is a weird story, almost probably more interesting than what Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will be. Yes, but I do think that does fundamentally change the background of this film, where this Guardians 3 looks a lot different visually than what the first 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies are, and what they've established in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're getting some of his actors that he brought in on The Suicide Squad over into this film. The visual aesthetic looks different than the previous Guardians of the Galaxy films, which makes me curious, but not particularly optimistic. Yes, this is all getting the band back together one last time. Yes, a lot of these actors probably will not be together in this format, together in these roles, in this same iteration. Next time, if there is a next time, yes, James Gunn will probably not be directing a Marvel movie anytime soon, as he's taking over the rival entertainment universe. All that being said, it is still a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I do love the cast. I love this cast of characters. I did not know anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy before the first film came out, so all of my impressions of these characters comes from the MCU, comes from these solo films and the Avengers movies. So I love Chris Pratt. I love this whole cast. So it is my number 3 movie on my list. It's lower than it probably should be, but for all the reasons I stated, it is still at number 3 on my list. Thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy?
Can I save that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Guardians of the Galaxy, baby.
Bum, bum, bum.
Guardians of the Galaxy. I am jazzed about it, and it may actually be the only movie, Brian, the only movie where Jim and I do an over-analysis of it. Our schedule is already booked for our weekly live show, and I think this is the only one that the only new release that made it on May's schedule for us. Now, of course, I am a little nervous. Quantumania, in my opinion, was a bit of a bust.
Financially speaking,
you
absolutely.
can see my review of it. I felt it was a bust as a moviegoer. That said, I trust James Gunn, and I'm thinking of that Christmas special, which I'll be damned moved me. It's like, oh my goodness, this is doing it again. Damn you, James Gunn, you bitch. You son of a...
You son of a race car driver.
With a toy. Yeah. Make a big spectacle while still keeping it grounded and emotional. I think is what I'm looking forward to. That we are going to get a resolution to this arc that will be satisfying. One of the things that has been perhaps missing with a lot of the Phase 5 films and other content that has come out of the MCU. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Plus, I enjoyed it. I still get misty when I think of James Rooker's, he may have been your father, but I was your pappy, as he's sacrificing his life to save Star-Lord. I'm like, I get choked up now. I'm
Mary Poppins, y'all.
I am jazzed about this movie. I'm looking forward to it. And maybe some of my excitement and why it's number 1 is it's only a couple of weeks away. Jim and I will be there. We'll be doing either a parking lot or Tim Hortons review. Now that Tim Hortons has been legally stopped from evicting their tenants so that they can ship in exploited workers.
Oh, jeez.
We're going back to Tim Hortons again. We'll see. Who knows? They could do something else evil, and then I'll be like, all right, back to the parking lot. I'm also curious. I'm also excited to see how they manage Gamora from a different timeline. Who knows? This could be a total bust. In 3 weeks, in 2 weeks, you might see a video from me going, well, third time was not the charm.
I find it very curious as well. The last 10 years, the MCU has been the most unstoppable force in Hollywood at the box office. And they've made close to $30 billion over the 33, 34, however many films it is now in the MCU. And it's interesting if you look at the April, May, June release part of the schedule. Everybody gets out of the way of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 when it comes out comes out Cinco de Mayo, which is obviously a huge weekend.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what the struggles that the financial struggles and creative struggles that the MCU has had the last couple of years. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Guardians 3 is the final film that the rest of Hollywood just sort of seeds the next 2 weeks out of, coming up in 2024 and onward.
That's a great point.
I really wonder if the years of other studios going, you know what, we're just going to give you the next 2 weeks, and we're not gonna let our best summer movie go straight up against a Marvel movie and get kicked at box office. We know they're going to make $1 billion on every single film. We don't really know that anymore. I actually did like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but I think they spent way too much money, and it was a box office dud in a lot of respects. I mean, opening weekend it made a lot of money, but it didn't have the legs as it was
Dan a mediocre film. Like, it's a mediocre film, missed some of the key factors that make for a good Ant-Man movie. Not that the superhero movies have a lot of legs, box office wise to begin with. They're pretty front loaded, as the hipster box office analysts say. The reason that wasn't this big hit, that it was not as good. Mediocre is maybe a little harsh. It was okay. It was fine. There's a deep
your favorite
cut.
word.
There's a deep Rob and DMG cut.
That would make a great T-shirt, by the way. You should set up a merch store and have "It's Fine" on the T-shirt.
It's fine. Me doing this, it's fine. It is a meme. I'm recording this. Maybe there's a scream grab there. It's fine. Yeah. BlackBerry, will it even come to Winnipeg? I don't know. I think it's a kind of a semi-limited release. Will Guardians of the Galaxy get that space anyway? Because they'll just be, the movies are getting, there's less movies, but they're getting bigger. And all the small stuff going to Netflix.
Plastering it everywhere to get that opening weekend box office, and then assuming that there's going to be a 65 or 70% drop-off week 2. Based all of that opening weekend. We're getting a lot of, because we're now in a digital era where all of the individual theaters now don't have to get prints of movies, I do think that is creating, at least locally here in Las Vegas, we're getting a lot more independent films that are getting roadshow type treatment, where they're getting a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night. So it's not getting wide release, 5 showings a day, but we are getting more variety because the theaters now are able to download and show and advertise easier roadshow pictures without having to have physical prints of movies and take up the theater space for the entire week.
Be interested to see the math on that, Yeah. But that's a great point. You know what? It's not only a great point, it's noteworthy.
Bringing the props too. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, it's not even, this ain't a prop, baby. Note the click. I'm clicking it, and I'm writing it down.
And the actual book with paper and everything.
We can see my setup. I am not afraid of the technology of the gizmos. That said, there is still a place in my life, and I would argue in anyone's life, for pen and paper in a nice leather book wrapper thingy. It's refillable. Anyway, what the hell
Lets
are
you have
saying?
many leather-bound books.
Roadshow.